Maybe I should start just being like, "Welcome to Indie Comic Empire. Today I've got," but
No, I like your intros actually. There's something really casual about it, and it's kind of funny in a way too, right? Because whenever I watch like one of your videos, I feel like I'm just kind of like walking into the middle of a conversation. So it's kind of
that's what I'm going for. Yeah.
yeah,
I try to break the mold a little bit. It's like everybody sort of does the same thing as far as podcasts and YouTube videos. And yeah, I'm always the kind of person that's like, if I'm gonna listen to something long form, I am willing to just listen to people talk, but I do want to just get into them talking. Like I don't need to hear the 5 minute blurb of what we're gonna talk about or whatever we're trying agenda we have set out, along with like I just make it a 10-second like thing with
yeah.
just the people in, and then we just start talking with no real end in sight.
No, and that's fine. I like that. Just like I always hate. It's funny. My wife and I were talking about like lectures and stuff like that. And my biggest pet peeve is whenever the presenter is like, they'll mention something and they'll be like, but we'll get to that later. So that's
Yeah.
always in my head, right? I'm like, well, is that going to be the end of it? You know what I mean? So like they're talking to me about something else, but I keep thinking about what we're going to be talking about later.
I think about, for example, in these podcasts, I have so many things in my mind, and like every thought I have that starts to come out and I start talking about, it makes me realize that there's another aspect to that that takes longer to explain, or
Hmm.
that, so I will come into it and say, yeah, I'll explain that in a second, but first I need to explain this. And then if I'm going to explain that, I then need to explain this. And all the time with comics, it's like the same four things that I always have to reiterate that are not obvious. And I feel like I repeat them too much, and it's like the one that always comes up is just like how much you make as a creator, or like the reality of what royalties actually look like if you even receive royalties, and like
Yeah.
it's like the same things that like keep popping up. But in order to explain something like, oh, what is the future, what do you expect to work with this? It's like, well, I first have to explain, well, what didn't work out in the past, or so
Hmm.
you're always like going back and forth, and I find myself, point being, doing the same thing where I go, I'll explain in a second this thing, but
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
you have a lot of stuff that I think that other people are not doing that's really interesting in the way that you're selling your stuff, specifically with like packaging your comics in meat.
Yeah, that's where I'm at right now. That's I yeah, I just got to the point where it's like I got to start moving some units, right? Because when you got a 5 issue series, it's tough to like, get people to buy like, 5 issues. And so I needed like something to like, be able to move whatever. And it worked. It did pretty good, and I sold like way more books that way than I would have if I would have just tried selling individual floppies. So, I mean,
That's what I am starting to. I've come into two realizations this year in particular that I have not didn't really see the light until this year, and one of them was just how much more valuable it is to create, I guess, things like that are not just floppies. Like just
mm,
how much more you make selling things, a um as like packages or
mhm,
as just other products.
mhm.
And so it's like specifically floppies in the comic shops. Like I've always known, and I've even talked about in these videos, that floppies in the comic shops are where you make the least amount of your money. It might be where you get the most people that read books,
Yeah.
but it's when you look at, and that's what's funny this year is I've just looked at like my portfolio, so to speak, of all my investments in my creative work and my
Mm,
actual like writing.
yeah.
And whenever I break down the math, it was just it was like the bulk of the time that I spent all went to the most minuscule amount of what actually brought me anything in return. And then
Mm,
all the stuff that at least from a like promotional perspective. So whenever it comes to writing, it worked out because I basically the like few things that I really cared about that I spent the most time was like I'm gonna push these as like the biggest stories or like try to make this a big book or this a big
mm,
movie. When those finally panned out, they just covered their success just like massacred all the other losses. But it made me
mm,
realize that it's all basically point being I discovered the front loaded effort that I put in 5 years ago into basically two different projects that I then just like did the thing and forgot about it.
mm,
They brought in 90% of all my investment returns over the past 5 years. And the
mm.
rest of the time where I've been doing YouTube, I've been like, trying all these like new things and new whatevers, those have resulted in like break even to net losses on virtually everything. And
Yeah.
it's like, and I you do hear that over and over again, where especially YouTube's a good example where everybody's just like, stop creating low quality, continuous content. Just spend all your time to make one great video or whatever, and just try to make that video get 1 million views instead of
Mm.
making 100 videos that get 100 or 1,000. And it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, the catch to that is like I don't know how to make 1 million view video or whatever. It's like it's sort of just luck of the draw. It's like if I try
Mm,
to put at least some quality effort into everything, it's
mm,
like, and I have, yeah, I don't know. I could talk forever, but it's like in movies, it's worked. It's like if I did put all my eggs into one basket and tried to make that work,
mm.
uh, and then it does work, it's like a huge win. I don't know. It's like the
Yeah.
law of exponentials or something. Have you heard of
Mm.
that law or whatever?
Log of exponentials. God, I've heard
Maybe
the term.
I'm
Like,
probably not saying it's like it's one of those things where it's like all if I basically took one project, let's just say it was $10,000, and the
mm,
success of that turned into doubling it into 20, and I did that
mm,
3 times.
mm,
So it was like three projects consecutively compounded to where it just
mm.
made up for the rest of everything else that I did. That was like, you
Yeah.
know, $1,000
Mm.
project, $5,000 project, and all. But what's crazy is like it just took like 8 years. Like that's what people forget about these things is that it's
Yeah.
like a movie that I wrote 10 years ago
Mm,
is finally now starting to see returns,
mm,
but for 6 years in a row, it was a huge net loss. But all of a sudden, like
mm.
now it's starting to like, oh, all of a sudden the like you're it's I don't like I said, it's like some kind of weird thing where it's like I don't notice it because it doesn't seem like very much until all of a sudden that like third doubling happens and you're like, oh, all of a sudden 1,000 went to two to four to eight.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I was
anyway,
always told when I first got into it, when I got my first royalty statement, and it was a complete eye opener. And I just kept getting told over and over again that like comics, it's a long game, and it's going to take a certain amount of time to see some kind of return. And but yeah, like you're talking about like with making like a million viewed video. There's no guarantee you're going to make, 1 million viewed video. It's like there's no guarantee that your comic's going to be successful. Really. I mean, you could have the most amazing art, the most amazing story, the whatever. There's no guarantee it's going to be there's no, you know what I mean? It just might, you might have a
Yeah,
couple people go ooh and ah, and a couple review sites going, oh my gosh, but
that's
I've seen some
kind
gorgeous
of
comics and I've read some gorgeous comics and they just like, like a fart in the wind,
that's what I am, sort of seeing as if I were to go back, it's like, no, I wouldn't change anything. It's basically like I
Hmm.
put the same amount of time and effort into a bunch of different things over time. Um, it would have been sort of, I wouldn't have even known how to specifically think, oh, this one's going to be the good one I should put more time into. It's like, as long as
Yeah.
you just do an equal amount, I think maybe the if there is a lesson to be learned from this, it's just don't put effort into low quality, I guess, or just recognize when you're not doing when you know that something can like. But then again, like that's what's so weird about all this is like you have no idea what's going to like take off or be viral. It could be
No.
not even. It could be a short story that somebody that you
Hmm.
write. It could be you on a podcast that gets discovered. Like it might
It
not
could
at
be a
all
cover. Yeah.
be. Yeah.
No, you don't know. I mean, all I can suggest to anybody in this racket is just make sure, just try to make your next project better than the last project in some capacity, right?
There it is.
Make the line work a little bit better than the last one. Make the lettering a little bit, but just try to like something better, right? And then, I mean, again, too, that's not going to be any guarantee that, it's going to lead to success, but I mean, I think if people see a progression in your work, they'll see that, you're investing in yourself and then it'll make them want to like, get into your stuff, right? Your current stuff. And maybe they want to get into your older stuff. I don't know. Like, it's funny. It's like, I've just like, I'm now like 5, 6 years into comics now. And it's just like, I just become this grizzled old
Yeah.
curmudgeon. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm no longer starry eyed with things. I don't go ooh and ah over publishers. I just kind of sort of just know what I got in front of me. And I don't know. I just worry about just putting stuff out, when I can and then do the odd side gig. And that's kind of where I'm at,
Uh,
really.
yeah, that's exactly where I'm at.
Mhm.
It's hardened me
Hardened.
to a
That's the word.
point of
Yeah.
just like it's like very yeah, I don't get bothered by much as I used to. I don't get
Hmm.
starry-eyed like you said by almost anything anymore.
Hmm.
There'll be uh, just and all in all, especially with like aside from just purely writing new stories, all of it has become just work. It's and
Hmm.
like and almost to the point where I'm just like, man, why do I even stress about some of this stuff? Like, it's just like, uh, I don't know. Like, anytime I get like a sort of a negative email or comment, or I do
Hmm.
some editing work for people, and at some point, or you get like so many people that just want you to keep rewriting and rewriting and rewriting, and it's just like
Hmm.
like why am I
Yeah.
writing for you? Like you're not
Yeah.
I'm the editor here, I'm the writer here, like you're not paying me enough to. That's the thing is like in the grand scheme, like I was saying, another one of those like layered things where you're like the amount of stress that I've put on over the getting paid $50 a page for
Mhm.
8 pages,
Mhm.
that takes like weeks and weeks and weeks. And when in reality, it's like that's gonna make me less of 1% of everything that's coming in. It's just
Yeah.
like, why am I
Yeah.
stressing out about that stuff?
Yeah, no, it's funny with the negative comments and stuff like that and the bad reviews. Like I used to take that stuff to heart, but now it's just like I don't know what it is. I kind of sort of like chuckle now at reviews, because I'm just thinking I just like a guy like tears apart a book, and I'm like, dude, you probably never wrote a goddamn thing in your life, right? So what
That's
do
the
I
other thing.
care?
Yeah.
If it was a creator, if it was another creator that was like, giving me critique, then then that's worth something to me, right? But if it's some guy that's like, I don't know.
I do want to reiterate how cool the sitter was, by the way.
Thank you. And that coming from you, that means a lot, right?
But
So,
I am shocked that to me, that's a book that is like a conversation starter, you know? Like I feel like I could it's like one of those things where, people talk about books and movies that they watch or whatever, and people,
Hmm.
like there's certain ones that just sort of break the mold that aren't like obscure, but they're
Hmm.
just like Fight Club was a big one that like people were
Hmm.
just like, oh man, it just kind of threw people for a loop. Or most recently, there's plenty. There's a
Hmm.
I'm trying to think of one that was just kind of like yours is right in that genre of kind of it just was different in a way that made you think more. Did you ever see uh um crap. It was called I'm Sorry to Bother You.
Oh, that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that movie.
And
It was
and
just
your
so,
the sitter I felt for some reason was like in that genre of like of like sort of just like to where it kind of breaks multiple genres, but it's almost more of just like an obscure drama. But it had like certain parts of it that were just like, oh, what? You know?
yeah. I find now it's like I'm at the point now where it's like I like obscure things. It's like we went to go see Heretic, or is it Heretic? Heretic?
I
Yeah.
think I think it's pronounced heretic.
Did you see it?
I didn't, but I want to. With Hugh
Okay, Hugh.
Grant, the
Yeah,
A24 movie. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, Hugh Grant was fantastic in it, and all that. But it was just like one of those things where I just kind of wanted more of a twist. I wanted something obscure. I wanted something just completely bonkers.
Oh,
It's
I was
like,
hoping it would, but it wasn't like that.
you know what? See it. It's still good. I
Oh,
liked
oh
it,
yeah, I'll see
but
it
like I said, I
then.
kind of
Yeah.
wanted more. It's like with there's that one we called Love Lies Bleeding
I haven't seen that.
with
No.
Kristen Stewart, and there's just such that movie's so obscure, and it's got points in it where you're like, what? It's just like they kind of went completely out of reality and just sort of like just threw in like just things that kind of made you go, really? Like they can do this? And I don't know. I just like to be surprised, like kind of something kind of goes off the road a little bit. And yeah, I don't know. I think I'm at that point in my life where I can't take a car chase in a movie anymore. Because I'll
Yeah.
sit there in the theater and I'll be like, this is not moving the story along at all, right? Or even like a sex scene too. I'm like, I don't need to see this. This doesn't further the story, the plot, nothing. It's just basically it's like a pause. Like this is when I go to the bathroom at this point, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, I just want something that just, I want to read things that just kind of make me sort of put it down and just kind of go, what the hell did I read? And then I got to go back to it. Like I got this one creator. I think he's from Eastern Canada. His name's Paul Dieter, and so he shot me a message out of the blue. He's like, "Hey, I want you to read my 3-issue series. It's called Lost in Tarnation." I'm like, "Yeah, cool." So he mailed me like three, issues 1 to 3. And it sat on my desk for like 2 months, right? I felt so bad. So I finally sat down and it was just like, what? I was just like I couldn't really decipher what it was I read, like it centered around this one central character who's a drug addict, and it just sort of like him just kind of just walking through life over 3 issues, and there wasn't really a point to it, but I didn't need a point to it, and it just felt like this big drug haze and just so obscure. And by the time I finished reading it, I was just like utter confusion, and I just went back and read it again, and I messaged him like. I'm like, this is perfect. Like this is like because I can't just close and say, well, that's that. I got it. You know what I mean? Like it's like
Yeah,
a
yeah.
regular, like whatever, like typical Marvel DC, but got it. Right. This one I still don't get it. And that's what I love about these stories. It's like I don't know, like you know what I mean? So I'm probably gonna read it again this weekend and see if I get it. But
That
I don't know what it is. I just need something that's just unconventional, and I'm trying to write that way now too, right? And
yeah,
yeah, I
that's
mean,
I'm once again I'm right in the same boat. I think I spent so long trying to just learn like a hero's journey or mimicking sort of what the
mm,
mainstreams are. And then you get to the point to
yeah,
where you have that. so ingrained in your head that you can't even enjoy most movies, or that to
I don't
where
need
it
a
just
hero's journey every time.
yeah,
Yeah, I need a guy that goes for a walk and all of a sudden he's talking to a log on the ground. Like that's interesting to me. You know what I
yeah,
mean? And then,
yeah,
you know, he impregnates the log or something. I don't know. You know what I mean? I just need something that's just like I don't know. I don't know. I'm just starting to get bored easily now, with things, and I just and that's the one thing though. Like when you start kind of veering off, whatever into your own path, and you're writing for yourself and you're kind of getting a little wonky with your storytelling is you've really shrunken your audience. You know what I mean? So now you're not going to cater to a whole lot of people. You kind of got this small little group of degenerates,
yeah.
that are into it,
But
and but
that's
but they're loyal, right?
yeah, and that's
And
I
that's why,
sorry
yeah,
to
go ahead. No,
yeah,
no.
what you're doing is what I want to do is like just focus on the niche, just on the boutique, the obscure, the abstract, even not necessarily the
Mhm.
weird, but just us find my group and just keep my loyal group, and that's all I care about. I don't want to worry about the masses
Yeah.
anymore.
You can't like it's I mean you could try, but man, there's just a lot. There's just so many voices out there, and there's just so many there's just a lot people that are better, at drawing and writing and lettering and all that, right? So, I mean, you could try to compete with that because really it is a competition, in a way, right? Like you're trying, you're creating a product, and you're hoping this product gets, buyers, basically customers, and if you're lucky, you get it, get it published and get your distribution and all that stuff, right? But I just no longer care about that. I like that, like you said, a boutique, right? I kind of like being that boutique storyteller, just a short run kind of guy, you know what I mean? That's going to be sitting in the
Yeah,
corner of some like some local sleazy market, you know what I mean? So I think I'm
yeah,
kind of
and
sort of like,
that's more
yeah,
interesting to me.
I
Um,
love those guys. Yeah, like so I came across Wesley Griffith. So this is his book, The Jump.
okay.
And anyway, so I bought like a dozen of his books off his site, and he's just one of those guys, like those boutique writers, and I don't know if he's ever like approached a publisher or anything like that, but yeah, like that's the stuff I want to go at, right? And that's the community I want to be a part of,
Yeah,
and yeah.
your stuff in particular, it gave me the like the ambiance or that feel of what it was like to be a part of an independent music scene and like punk rock, and to where it was just like I'm that maybe youthful feel isn't the right word, but it just made
Hmm.
me like even whenever I like would go to conventions, I felt myself being like, this is the life I want of just going to
Hmm.
conventions and selling this stuff,
Yeah.
and being with other people that have other weird stuff. And we're both just
Hmm.
like that's what we do. We're on tour selling our weird stuff, and then we go home, we write our weird stuff, and then you go party with weird people,
That's exactly it.
whatever. It's
Yeah, that's
just,
exactly it. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, no, and I've said like countless times in interviews, like, it's just like I wanted to be, my goal was to kind of like have that, that opening scene in Chasing Amy, the Kevin Smith movie,
yeah, yeah,
when they're in at a con and they're selling Blunt Man and Chronic, and get into the whole fight about being a tracer and stuff like that, and then just that whole environment, right? And I just like to be around that, and yeah, I mean that to me, that's kind of sort of the epitome of like,
yeah. The
you know,
catch is you have to already have like a living, or or like it's really hard to make a living with that lifestyle unless you're
Mhm.
young and on the grind. Um,
Yeah, I mean, if you're young, super talented, and you got yourself in there, then yeah, you can make a living off it for sure, right? I mean, the big three or whatever will feed you the work, I guess, and but I'm at that point now where it's like I'm not, my style's not, gonna fly for the big three. and probably my my work output's not gonna apply for the big three. So I know my role in life right now. And it's just, it is what it is. I'm not defeated, but
No,
I'm sort
yeah.
of, it's just, yeah, it is what
I
it is.
totally get it. But you're the writer and artist of your stuff. You
Mhm.
are um to me it's like you are a true artist in a sense that everything you produce is kind of just all you, and your fan base is all for you. It's a
Mhm.
bit different for me because I both have a writing partner and other artists. So the people
Mhm.
that read my stuff, they don't know, well, did my writing partner write the parts that they liked, or did they really just mainly like the artwork or something? Like I'm kind of the third wheel. If it weren't for my YouTube stuff, I'd just be another name on the shelves nobody knows or cares about that's attached to other things. They might enjoy some of the stories. With
Yeah.
yours, you are like a part of, like you almost are a character amongst you. You're like an art, whatever that term is, to where like the artist is a part of the work, to where
Yeah.
the fans are really attached to you more than the IP, or equally as much as the IP itself.
Yeah, I guess the only downside of that is, being the all-in-one is here the work output is slower.
Yeah,
It's just a lot slower. It's like a book a year kind of thing, if you're lucky, right? And
yeah,
then
right.
and then you're picking up jobs along the way, like covers and pages for an anthology and all that, which is good because it helps hone your craft and kind of makes you do things that you would not normally do. Um, but it does slow you down getting your own stuff out. And it's just you, right? And so if the book goes to pot and everyone hates it, you're the only one they're gonna look at, right? So,
Yeah, that is true.
and
You get all the
and
glory and all the downer sides.
yeah, because you're trying to like create momentum for the next project, right? So people are ready to sitter. I'm hoping that they'll read the next book, right? It's called Todd LeBon, which I'm gonna have out for next year, hopefully next year. And that's all I'm looking forward to. I'm just looking forward to the next one, and then the one after that, and so forth and so forth. So,
Yeah, I yeah, I'm tired of talking so much. I'm tired of talking about the same things over and over again. But
it's out there though, right? It's just like, like it's like the whole narrative with publishers came up again the other week. You know what I mean? It's like I thought this was dead back in the spring, but it came up again. Certain publishers, were talked about, and it's exhausting. It's so exhausting, and yeah, and I always start to feel bad for, like, like the creators that are just new to the scene, that are just getting their books sort of out to the public, and they're all happy and excited, and then and you're kind of sitting there like, okay, guy, this is just
yeah.
just give us 6 months kind of thing, right? Like, but yeah,
Oh,
it's cyclical. Like this whole downer side of comics, just
what's
you
so
know.
funny is I'm not gonna say their name, but they're a pretty big artist.
Hmm.
And whenever I first was trying to break into comics in 2017 or 2018, I
Hmm.
reached out to a handful of artists to possibly do a book.
Hmm.
And like the first one to respond to me was this guy. This guy he's done artwork for virtually every mainstream publisher except for maybe Marvel or DC. And even them, I think he's done covers for.
Hmm.
And my first email, he just responded back, yeah, sounds like a good story, but I'm about to kill myself. Like something literally like that. uh, like I like something along the lines of, I'd rather kill myself than do another comic book. And I was just
Oh.
kind of like, oh, okay, well, I guess if you change your mind, and that artist has since like done just their own stuff, and
Mm,
all self-published work. Uh,
okay.
and so, but that was my very first like response back threw me off. And I'm now like getting those kinds of emails, and I want to do the same thing where I'm just like, yeah, your work's not bad, but I'd rather kill myself than write this comic book for you.
Yeah, yeah, I'm not there yet. Like so, like the work I get asked to do, it's pretty easy stuff, like covers for Kickstarters and that. Like I like doing that. That's and then I'm doing like a 4-page for an anthology, that's coming up in January, right? Easy stuff. It's nice because the script is there. It's just a short run. I could deal with that, right?
Yeah.
But doing like full on stuff, man, oh man, like I'm kind of I'm gonna be doing this one project with this writer. He's gonna We're gonna co-write it, but I'm gonna draw this whole thing up, so we're gonna be co-creators. So I'm looking forward to that, But I just like I don't know. Back in my mind, I just need to get this one book done. You know what I mean? It's like this. It's just this nagging kind of whatever, right? So vanity.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. A day in the life of this. Yeah, I cannot stress how many times we've talked about the same things where it's just like there's no way around as it's like I can if I could quit this, I would, but my brain won't let me. Like I seriously have just been like I'm done after this book. But then I mean, it's like, as you know, you're making a book now that you started writing years ago because like
Mhm,
and you get new thoughts that you take notes of. Like my brain just doesn't stop. And then if I force myself to be like, I'm either just gonna finish this one and not start something new,
mhm.
like then somebody else will, my writing partner will just say something brilliant. And it's like,
Mhm.
I've
Yeah.
gotta I've got to do something with this, and like it's just I have to tell stories, and this is
Mhm.
the best. This at least gets it in the world, and makes it a real thing. And there's
Yeah.
a real route to do it. It's just they just take so long. That's really all it is. It's just it's so long. It's like it's what
Yes.
starts as just a fun idea, and like you were saying earlier, the starry eyes of the industry is the same with your own story. Like you
Mhm,
have a twilight of imagination that makes the story so fun and
mhm,
you just dive right into it. You can't stop it.
mhm.
And then at some point you hit a wall and that's where it's like now I have to fine tune it and and now I have to rewrite it and then you have to then draw it and redraw it and color it and
Yeah.
and it's just like it's a
Mhm.
huge undertaking to bring something that's abstract and make it
Yeah.
real.
Yeah.
Uh
And then you spend you spend like 2 years into a book, countless hours, and then within a minute, some guy's gonna be like, "Ah, this is shit."
Yeah. Yeah, and
Like,
then that's the other part of it is you're dealing with readers that do not understand what actually it takes to create something.
oh,
You
it's
know?
like I compare it now to with these like these disgruntled reviewers and these disgruntled readers when they find a book and they just sort of like give their like 2 cents. I compare them to just that out of shape guy on his couch eating his Cheetos, complaining about a wide receiver not being able to catch a ball. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Just
exactly.
like I'm like, sure, guy, okay, So that's kind of where I'm at right now. So I again too. This is coming back to when we first talked here. It's like just how I just become hardened. Just
Yeah. And
you
then the
know.
the other creators in this space make it hard on each other too, with the whole bringing up publishers and trashing publishers and uh,
Oh yeah, it's hard. Yeah.
trashing creators that promote their own work with a publisher, and it's just
Ah,
like goodness
no,
gracious, guys. Like,
I know. I like the like the one publisher. Those that shall not be named at the moment. They had their whole hullabaloo, and they had a couple a couple of creators were kind of like writing in their favor, publicly and all that. And of course, they're getting shamed and like they're supporting a Nazi regime or something. And it's just like
yeah.
it's just I don't know. I don't know. It's tough because, you sort of like it settles down. You're kind of like your mind is focused on doing your project. and then something else comes up with those people. You know what I mean? And then the creators are all up, their feathers are all ruffled, and the hen house is all just in a tizzy, and you're just like, oh crud, and you kind of like checking on your book and checking on your royalties, and you're like, why do I even bother? Like,
Yeah,
why do I
exactly.
bother? It's like I told someone, I said, at this point, my book is so deep in the red, I need an asteroid to take them out to make, to give me a fresh start with this book. Because it's just like, I don't know what on earth I'm going to be seeing green, right? Because I can't cancel my contract because, I got to basically pay it out. And, I'm not
Yeah.
really, it's like I put in so much time and effort into like 5 issues. It's like, why on earth would I want to pay, X amount to get, my publishing rights back? It's just like,
Yeah, and
I'm
it's so the worst thing is when you're like negative and the only way out is to spend more money. And you're like,
no, no. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna let it sit there, let it do its thing. If they go under, great, then that kind of takes care of that. But if something miraculous happens, great, and I'll just like focus on the next project, right? That's
yeah.
all I can do is just move on to the next thing and just hope for, something happens, something, I don't know.
It, that I will, there is some light on the end somewhere. Like I just had like of all the movies I've produced, uh it's like I was saying at the beginning to where they always talk about, and I think it's sort of the same in comics in the sense that uh there's I guess in this with distribution of movies, it's kind of like, okay, I need to get a theatrical release, but I
Mm,
can't get a theatrical release unless I spend a bunch of extra money on this other stuff. You have to get it like rated by the censorship agencies, like the motion
mm,
picture associations or whatever. You have
mm,
to, and it's a lot of money. These fees are like five figures, or
mm,
or maybe at least like four. It's
mm,
just like just for this little thing, just so that
mm.
I can maybe get it into a theater that you then essentially are paying for the seats for, and just
Yeah.
hoping that you can sell out those tickets. So it's once again, it's just like comics. It's like you're basically investing, you know, 10% in to hope that you can, sell 50% of those theaters just to break even.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you do like that, and then you do these other things, and it's like all of this can be solved if I just get, the person or the production distributor that will like cover those fees, and they'll take the risk, or
Mm,
something.
yeah.
Or if I can actually just get a streamer that actually pays out what they call a minimum guarantee, which is essentially like they actually pay you up front. You're not
Mm,
reliant on the sales, the back end sales or whatever. And then you're
mm,
trying to split up. Well, this person's taking a percentage of gross. And that's what's crazy about like splitting ownership is eventually so many people take their percentage, they're taking your percentage. So if
mm,
another investor comes on board and says, I want 50%, and then another one says, I want 40, their
mm.
40 isn't coming out of that guy's. It's coming out of yours.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden you went from majority owner to you get 10% of nothing,
Hmm.
or whatever it is. And
Yeah.
but when it finally works
Mm,
and you actually get 40% of something real, it
mm.
makes up for those losses. And it's like the same with like if you finally you just get one book that doubles its investment, it can cover the losses of your other one.
No,
That's the
that's
beauty of
that's
staying in the
true.
game.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, I guess it depends how you go about it. I mean, a good Kickstarter can really make up for all that, really. Um,
I said this the first time we talked. Like I, I don't see like you have such a unique style and such like high quality writing that just quality alone should carry you eventually. It's like people investing in stocks where they say, "Oh, it's all hype for these things," but what really matters is the fundamentals of this company. Like
mm,
they have great a great executive team. They have great products. They
Mhm.
have an audience base. They are making, they have positive cash flow. In your sense, like you're like that as a creator, to where it's like they have quality books. They've worked with great publishers. Like they have an audience. As soon as they just hit their, whatever it is that crosses them over the bridge,
Yeah.
that's when you see that curve I was talking about, where like you see that the exponential growth to where it's like something clicks and all of a sudden it's just like you don't just get one new person.
Mhm.
Every single person that reads your stuff talks about it, and all of a sudden you don't go from 10 new readers, you go from 10 to 100 to 1,000 to 10,000.
Yeah, it's a whole compound effect, really, right?
Yes, that's it.
You're just building, 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 trying to get better, 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 and then eventually, there's hopefully a payoff at some point. It might be a while, right? It's like, you invest in the stock today, you're going to see losses, small gains over the next couple of years, but you're not really going to see anything significant probably for like 5, maybe 10 years,
I
you know?
dang, yeah. I just a few I don't remember how long ago. It was like a month or two ago. I interviewed a screenwriter. Did you see that video I did? His name was Bob DeRosa.
No, no, I did
He
see
he
the
said
preview.
something really interesting, and I've heard this before. He and this is what always humbles me and brings me back to reality, because like he has had real success, had major screenplays produced into major motion pictures,
Mm,
multi-million dollar deals, and kind of things with big studios. He didn't get his first actual real sale until after his like 10th screenplay that was production ready went to market.
wow.
And that was after he'd already had like three or four screenplays that were good enough to where I think he like had an agent, like
Mm,
so it was just sort of like as he said, I paid my dues, meaning like when I finally had my break that
yeah,
actually made up for the years I had put into it.
yeah.
He's like, people it was understandable because I had already, I think he may have, he said something like he's definitely over 20 or 30 like finished feature screenplays, and he's also written television shows and stuff
Mhm.
too. But it's just another one of those things where it's like you just got to put in the work. Like you got to write a ton, you got to do a lot, you got to really make something and watch that go nowhere over and over and over again.
Yeah,
And
yeah. And
that's
then
what we always complain about.
and these experiences like with publishers, the discourse and then whatever. It's just these are experiences that make you better. You know what I mean? So,
And
like I would have
everybody goes through them. Yeah, there's
everybody
no
goes through
person
it.
you're going to meet with real success that doesn't
Yeah.
have these stories, if
Yeah,
not crazier ones.
and you learn things down the road. It's like one thing I've learned, which I'm going to implement on my next book, is I'm not going to do any variant covers. I'm just going to do one cover and that's it. Because variant covers, all they do is they just dilute the profits really, because you're just adding on extra printing costs, and I think that's one of the things that kind of did me in with the first series. I just had too many variants, over 5 issues, and printing costs is so astronomically high. And not, it's funny, it's like, at the shows I'm at, even though I was at one this weekend, I was talking to one retailer, he came by my table and I'm like, yeah, yeah, it's just one issue, but 3 or 4 different variants for. He goes, ah, damn variants, right?
Yeah,
Like retailers just like, ugh, they're just like a lot
variants
of
are such a topic unto themselves because
them.
a lot
It's
of they're hated by readers a lot of times.
yeah,
They're hated by us creators. It's like nobody goes into this being like, I want a Pokemon homage cover to my book, It's
yeah. I
just
guess a,
that that's sometimes, and in your case, in many cases, it's like it's worse for sales,
yeah.
or at least for creator, profits. It's
Mhm,
like, but it's once again, it, I'm reminded that comics are really like four different markets.
mhm,
The biggest one is collectors, and if you're
mhm.
not in the collector market, all those variants don't mean nothing because readers don't care. Readers
Yeah.
don't collect variant covers. They want something to read.
Yeah.
They want trades, you
Yeah.
know. They
Yes.
and you
Yes.
know,
Yeah.
so it's just like that. And so when you're writing for them. You're not
Mm,
writing for the collectors. And the collectors are what move this market a lot of times with a lot of these publishers. So
mm,
you're sort of diluting the quality in a sense, and then the other like markets that you're writing for is like the retailers themselves, or like the comic book shops, which might have a different opinion from what their actual readers might want,
mm.
and then you're writing for commentators and
Yeah.
other creators who they need something to write about, and it might not be, what might get them clicks is not just another fantasy book. It's got to be something weird. It's your book has to be like in our cases, sometimes they have to think it's really bad or misogynist or whatever, and then they
Yeah.
talk about that aspect of it. Or mine gets so many people called Liquid Kill sadistic. um Whatever.
Yeah, it's funny when you mentioned like, the collectors, right? Like those are the ones that, want the variant covers, right? If you're somebody, if your title is something. And that's one thing I learned too is like I'm still a nobody, apart from like my little group, right? Kind of thing. So yeah, that was a total learning process for me. Now the one thing about variants though, it it gives an opportunity for like a lesser known artist to get their work exposed, really. So
That's
that's
true
that's
too.
that's really the biggest thing for me, right? So, like here I'm criticizing variant covers, and I've like done a couple of variant covers recently for other people, right? So,
No,
don't
I
stop.
get their
Yeah,
plus and
yeah, yeah,
minus.
yeah. Like I'll still take the work. That's no problem. But yeah, I know for me now it's like keep it tight. Like keep it tight. Like I just don't yeah, I just don't have that name, to do that. Uh,
It
you know.
and it's really just the right time mixed with luck. Whenever it suddenly it clicks with the right person. I've talked about this in like my books and stuff. It's just the right person has to think you're cool. It's high school politics.
Yes, the
That's
right
all it
person.
is.
Yeah, and it's funny. I posted on Blue Sky, the other week. I'm like, I just got this dream one day that 5, 10 years down the road, some producer is going to send his assistant to like, corner shop and say, find me something original kind of thing. And they'll go through the dollar bin and they'll find like, issue one of Trakovi and they'll be like, oh, okay, okay. And then they'll bring it to the producer, they'll hum and haw over, yeah, yeah, we can do something with this. And then they'll find me somehow. I'll be like, probably like in some like, retirement home by then. Right? Just like, drooling and the whole deal kind of thing, right? And then yeah, and then Amazon will run a season and then they'll get canceled, obviously, of course, after one season. But but I don't know. I just keep having that in the back of my head that just somebody is gonna come across something and say, you know what? Why not? We might be able to do something with this. So, you know,
If you talk to enough people, if you network enough, I think that's like when I talk about this. Like I said, I talk about so much ad nauseum, but just going out there, it's like the real secret sauce of it all is
mm,
just uh, talking to the right people, and just somehow this connection that happens now
mm.
might allow for a different connection down in the future. It's a butterfly effect, but
Yeah.
you have to get out there and talk to people in order to make it work. And you
Mm,
have to, and that's what you see with in your example. If they somebody picks up Trakovi and they go, that looks cool. They read it, they're like, that's cool. And then they go online and they look up your name and
mm,
they see your work, and then they
mm,
see a video, or let's just say your website, and they go to your website and you're like, his website's cool. And then it links to something else that's cool, or they see you with somebody that they know,
mm,
even if it's not someone they know personally, but someone that's also famous or something like that. Then
mm.
they're like, oh, whoa, he worked with blah, and or he was the artist for that book. That book, I love that, or my boss loved that, or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like as long as you're in the right spots and all the dots connect, it's like the all you can do is at least get your dots out there. Like let somebody else
Exactly.
connect them,
Yeah.
but just keep the dots out there.
Mhm.
Eventually they'll connect as long as they're solid and they don't fade away, or and as long as, like you were saying, each product gets better, and make sure you're just, keeping it going upward and not getting worse.
Yeah, it's just you gotta do what you can. It's like with the sitter. Um, so I did the Kickstarter, funded whatever, and then I tried the publishers, and I got one no, and then ghosted by all the other ones, and then I just went and just hit up like as many retailers as I possibly could. So like I don't know, I think I emailed 100 of them. I got like 20 stores picked it up, right? So, there's a, 20%
That's
six,
that's
20%
a good
success, right?
ratio.
It's a good ratio, right? So, and then, a couple of publishers like Fantagraphics, I just sent like a physical copy, right? And I'm sure the guy at Fantagraphics going to flip. He's going to see like that brutal sex scene, is so awfully drawn, and he'll be like, he'll just say, "Do you want this?" He'll pass it on to somebody else, right? And I keep thinking like, whoever's going to get it passed on to, maybe they'll pass on to somebody, or they'll maybe one day they'll have a quiet Sunday, and then they'll read it, and then they'll be like, "Hey, I know who would like this." So, but it's just yeah, it's just putting it out there, hoping it's got some legs. At some point, it'll be to the point where I'll probably forgot that I've actually written that book. I'm like, the what? Oh, right. You know what I mean? The Jonah Hill movie? I didn't write that. You know? So it's just like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. But the key is, and I always tell people, is like, just keep working, just keep putting stuff out, little things, big things, whatever. Just
Yeah.
keep producing. And then, I don't know. You just don't know. You really don't know. There's no secret formula. I
No.
mean, some guys, yeah, once they get into that, that lane, um, the writer for Something's Killing Children, James
Oh,
Tinian.
Tinian, yeah, Tinian, however you
Tinian,
say it.
yeah, and so now he's got his own production company now, right? And it just kind of seems like this guy can fart in a bag, and it'll probably be a bestseller kind of thing, right? Critics will love it.
At
Um,
this
and
point, he's broken whatever that scientific term is. He's
mm,
reached the event horizon to where he cannot fail unless
he's
he
there,
has some
yeah,
kind of uh, personal dramas that come out there, or something that tries to bring him down. If he starts trash talking a certain community or something like that.
yeah, or turns to like Kevin Spacey 2.0 or something like that,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if
then
he
we got
has
issues.
real scandals happen is what'll bring
Yeah,
him down, but not
but
stories.
no, but I mean, like for him though, think of it though. It's like like they're something is killing children is right now. It's in development with
Yeah,
Netflix,
and
right?
he's going to go exponential again from there.
Yeah, and I mean, this is a book that he wrote what 4 years ago, 3 years ago that he
Mhm.
started this book, right? And so
That's
by the
when it
time like
released. He probably started writing it,
yeah, and
6
you
years
got to think
ago.
too. By the time like the show actually hits airways, right? I mean, what 2 years down the road, maybe? You know what I mean? He'll be like, I bet she'll be like 7, 8 years removed
Yeah,
from like when he first started, right? It's amazing, and then his other series too, like I mean, he's
that's
yeah,
another like law of numbers that uh I learned from one of those writers is it takes 10 scripts, 10 years for every major level. It's like you have to write 10 scripts over the course of 10 years that then finally get you, or let's just say, published to where
mhm,
you actually have a hit. And then it takes
yeah,
another 10 years after that for that hit to then turn into a movie.
yeah,
Think about George R. R. Martin. That's exactly what happened to him. It was
yes,
20 years before
oh
that actually got turned into anything.
yeah,
And now Tynion's seeing the same thing. Like he from starting to write that to seeing that on the screen is going to
mhm,
be at least 10 years, and that's after 10 years in the game with Marvel DC.
mhm,
So it's
yeah.
just everything is it's a long game,
It
but
is, and
that's
if it becomes a hit, if it does become a hit, I mean, This could be The Walking Dead 2.0, right? You
That's what
know?
we all live for. Yeah, like you said, that's the dream. Like that's
Yeah.
what, and even if you ignore and just say like I don't care if that dream never comes true, it's like just the feeling we get writing these stories and then just like having the possibility of them out there, it's like that is just enough enjoyment to where for some reason, even just like subconsciously, I have to keep writing stories. I have to keep
Yeah.
trying to tell these things in my head. And
Yeah.
of course, the natural outcome is just to see it in some kind of major form, whether that's a TV show that becomes a phenomenon or a movie or a
Hmm.
video game or even whatever the future lies to where people are walking through virtual realities or whatever, like just something that like it breaks to phenomenon scale. That's just because when you're creating universes, you're living in them. You like to live in them. That's why people like reading
Yeah.
them, watching them,
Yeah.
because it's like they want to live in this world, even if it's the sitter world.
Hmm. Yeah, and
So,
you visualize like a live action scenario in your head, right? And you just want other people to see that what's in your head, like you want to share that. And that's the thing when you're a writer and artist, right? You like we're sharers. Sharers, is that the right word?
works
Sharers?
for
I don't know,
me. Yeah.
plural. But anyway, that's what we like to do. We like to show and tell, that's just it's in our nature, right?
Yeah.
And we
Right.
just want people to see things, which is kind of funny, hey? It's like, and it's not bragging. It's just a natural thing to want to share things, in the world, right? And
And I find it funny that I have to talk to people like you about this stuff because the majority of the world's not like that. That's why the majority of the world is readers, not writers. And that's why
yeah.
readers can look at something you write and just go, that's trash, or they don't know what they're doing, or this is ridiculous. Uh, because
Yeah, I
that's
can't believe you
like,
fumbled that football, right? Yeah,
yeah.
okay, guy. Yeah, I know. It's just like whatever. Yeah, I know. And that's the thing too. It's like who putting out the stuff that I put out, and I don't know if you're this way too. It's like these readers, right, that have these opinions. They're comparing you to like, the last Batman series. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah,
whoa,
exactly.
it doesn't
They
look
put
like
you on the
whatever.
same level as the biggest things that's I mean, we do put ourselves on that pedestal sometimes, but it is just like, guys, this is my second book, I know I'm
Yeah.
not Stephen King or whatever, or Tom King or anybody of these guys.
I
Like,
know. You're just like, really, like, cut me some slack here, right? You know what I mean? And yeah, I don't know. I don't know. And that's the thing too with guys like me that, do the writing and the artwork and the lettering, is you're not just trying to hone one craft. You gotta about three or four different, crafts you gotta try to like improve on, right? Writing, drawing, coloring, inking, lettering, and then marketing on top of that, you know? And so you're trying to like improve on all these tasks, right? Whereas like, if you're just a writer, you have the benefits of focusing on that one craft. You know what I mean? Like you can really, that's you're just consuming that one thing, right? But unfortunately for guys like me, it's like we're so spread thin. You're just kind of hoping that everything kind of like sort of like levels at the same pace. Like I hope my artwork, is on pace with my writing, and you know, I don't know.
well, I'll end on the note that I mean, I think everything you do is on an ultra high professional level. Of all of your skills, you're getting really good at all of them, especially the most recent, even your marketing, because you're doing really interesting, cool stuff, creating action figures, putting them inside of cool packaging, selling things as strange and fun bundles. And that's just on top of I mean, your artwork is just so top notch and stylized and cool looking. And then your stories, like you said, they hit all the right beats, but they're just out there and they throw you for loops and they're like twisty and turny and fun. And they're
Mm.
also dark and kind of scary. And like, but it's just like it's I don't know. It's like you're hitting all the levels that you should be in this game, and I have a
Mm.
lot of respect for you because of all that. So well
Yeah.
done to everything you're doing.
Thank
Once
you.
I said last time, like just stay at it. Like I want to give up all the time. You're just one of those that I look at and it's just like, please don't let this guy give up because like he's too good.
And that, you know what, it's funny, like coming from you, like, especially like, guys like you, that's totally appreciated. And it's funny, like I do that with other guys, like Wesley Griffith that I mentioned, like with his book. Like I went on my way and I messaged him, I sent him a message and say, hey, letting you know that, I love your stuff. It really helps kind of like, propel me to kind of like, keep going on my whatever. I like to kind of keep your books around to sort of get the whatever juices going and all that. So basically, I'm just kind of telling him, if a creator feeds my creativity, I always make sure I let them know in some fashion, right? Because it's this whole pay it forward kind of thing, right? So I get super complimented when, like when that one guy wants to send me his books to get what I, to get my opinion on it kind of thing, right? So it's just,
Yeah.
yeah, we need each other. Like we really need each other. We
Oh, for
really,
sure. Yeah.
really do. I need you. You know what I mean? It's like I need you to kind of every now and then to kind of like check in or something. You know what I mean? Or like this kind of stuff, right? It just we're all in this
Yeah.
together. I
Otherwise, it's
mean,
the void, and the void is deep.
oh, you don't want to be in that room by yourself. You gotta get outside every now and then, get some vitamin D, and then just yeah, and then every now and then just be able to kind of like, talk about your project to other people. Your next project is to kind of, fertilize the creativity, and that's the nice thing about being part of a creative community is that, it's like this, it's like we're just in one big AA meeting, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
This big virtual whatever where we all kind of like, we can kind of bitch and moan about things and then, put your arm around someone's shoulder and say it's going to be okay. Your book's awesome.
Well, I'll be there for you if you're there for me. Let's do this
Yes.
again. At this point, like I said, I'm done just like basically making videos that, I've scripted out everything that I ever really cared about, and now it's kind of like I'm just giving away everything for free, cutting all the stuff that I don't want to like spend extra time on.
Yeah.
I'm just doing podcasts, just doing them with like my regulars, and you're just gonna be a regular, and we'll just,
And
cut
this is great. This is like,
cut it up.
honestly, this is like free therapy.
Yeah, yeah.
Really, honestly. So thank you for that. So yeah, no, it's good to like, watch these videos every now and then just to kind of know you're not alone. Everyone's got problems and issues, but we're all fighting. So yeah.
And the people that watch these, they're they're creators just like us that are either beginners or rising, and
Yeah. Yep.
they're a part of this therapy session with us. So
Yeah.
I
Or
don't
they're
think any
readers.
are.
Yeah, or they're readers that are actually like, I love the readers that are genuinely curious about you, your work, your process,
Yeah,
like those are the ones I really try to like, gravitate towards, because like those guys are like, they're honest, you know what I mean? Because I've had a few readers that I've kind of met along the way that I would send them like little like sketches and notes and stuff like that. I'm like, what do you think? Kind of whatever.
yeah. Same
Yeah,
here.
and they're honest. Yeah.
My fans are actively involved in my writing nowadays, and
Yeah.
like their
Yeah.
opinions actually change what goes onto the page. And they love that, and I love it too. Yeah, that's what's cool about being in this indie scene. Yeah, as
Yeah.
like you get to be as a reader, you actually get to be a part of. It's like being a roadie for a band. You know.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. I love having one or two roadies, you know what I mean? Just to kind of like help carry that amp onto the stage or something, you know what I mean? So, that emotional amplifier. That's yeah, yeah.
All right. Keep it real up in Canada, eh?
Thanks for having me, eh?
Yeah. All
No dude
right.
about it.
Till next time. Thanks a lot, man. I'm going to stop the recording.